Hi, I'm Matthew, Bordeaux buyer for the Wine Society, and I'm really excited to be releasing our latest offer of the 2024 Bordeaux En Primeur. And I'm here to give you a clear and honest assessment of the vintage, talk to you about the wines, and give you everything that you need to know to make your purchases from this latest En Primeur. Now, you'll have seen that we would have offered the top wines via email over the last few weeks, and we get regular feedback from members that they want to have the bulk of the offer in a physical booklet that they can look at over a period of weeks in order to make the best decisions possible on what to buy from the latest vintage. So what do the wines from the 2024 vintage taste like? Well, it's a slight change from the Solaire vintages of 2020 and 2022, and instead we're moving back to a much cooler, lighter style of Bordeaux. For the reds, the wines are typically medium bodied, they're quite light in tannins, they've got lovely, bright, fresh acidity, and for the most part, this really elegant, lovely perfume coming out of the glass with these crunchy red fruits and bramble flavours across most. On the left bank, the wines have got great structure and a lovely svelte, elegant profile. On the right bank, whilst a trickier vintage for the right bank, I think that's where some of the best wines are. They've got a lovely richness to the mid palate. They've got a really nice density to the core with a really good plummy red currant brambly fruit on the mid palate, which is really, really elegant. The real star from the vintage are the white wines, offering amazing complexity, great ageability, and a really linear, refreshing acid profile, but plenty of structure and concentration as well. And then the sweet wines, there is so much noble rot character. It's really nice to see. There's lots of those marmalade, honeycomb, and lanolin characters coming from these botrytized wines, and they should age really well. But what was great to see is that they were so elegant and attractive early on, which is always nice. So how did the vintage of 2024 pan out? Well, Tim, my predecessor, and we got an early indication of 2024 when we were tasting the 2023s back in April, where there was clearly a lot of mildew pressure throughout much of the region. Lots of workers in the vineyard spraying and trying to preserve as much of the fruit as they possibly could. The good thing is, with mildew at that stage in the season, the real impact is on yield rather than quality. And so it did mean that we saw some of the lowest yields since the early 90s, which is not ideal. But the wines, thanks to a brilliantly dry, hot July and August, have actually blown off a lot of the ruggedness, and a lot of the wines have got lovely, light, supple tannins and have all achieved phenolic ripeness, certainly in this offer. And I think they've offered some really lovely, elegant wines. There was a little bit more rain towards harvest, and so the Merlot, for most parts, was picked a little bit earlier. So we did see some dilution in some of the wines, which we won't be including in this offer. But the Cabernet was left to ripen a little bit longer on the vines, missed the worst of the rain, and we've got some wonderful dark berry fruit character coming from those wines. Top value pick from 2024, I will say Chateau Ampélia from the Castillon. This is produced by Francois Despan of Grand Corban d'Espagne, who produce our own label Exhibition Saint-Emilion. And he's managed to get so much richness and pleasure and lots of complexity in the Ampélia in 2024. And I think it stood shoulder to shoulder with far greater wines from around that appellation. Yeah, so a relatively new one for the Wine Society would be Chateau Lagrange from Saint-Julien. It's an appellation which consistently produces very good Bordeaux, even in difficult vintages. And I was really impressed with just the extra generosity that you got from this wine. There's quite a lot of oak use, which was very appealing in its youth. It should integrate nicely over time, but I think they're really an informal estate, and I think members can't go too far wrong. Another one, if I may, would be Chateau Siron for Margaux. It's everything that you could want from a Margaux. It's got wonderful perfume and lovely, elegant characteristics, very fine, elegant tannins, and it really is just everything that you could possibly want from this, star appellation. Yeah, so I'll do one from Pomerol and one from Saint-Emilion. One from Pomerol will be Clos de Clocher, which is a real hidden gem. It's got very famous neighbours like Le Pan and Le Fleur Petrus, but sells for a nowhere near the same amount of money, but it's wonderfully elegant and rich and really classic Pomerol. And then from Saint-Emilion, it would be L'Arcis Ducasse, which again, I just thought offered this wonderful core of fruit and a really sweet, elegant, classy style at not too much money. So they'd be my two right bank picks. I have to go with Domaine de Chevalier Blanc. It really was one of, if not the best wines of the vintage for me. And if you're looking for a white Bordeaux that's going to age for the next 20 or 30 years, that's the one that I would be having in my cellar. Top sweet wine and arguably top wine full stop for me was Chateau d'Oisiden from the de Bordeaux family. It is rich, it's unctuous, it's spicy, it's got savoury oak character, and it is packed full of noble rot character. It is sensational. So this is my first vintage doing En Primeur for the Wine Society, and it's safe to say that it is a very difficult vintage, not just because of the weather conditions during the growing season, but also because the market is in a difficult position and a lot of producers that we have been following for a number of years are suffering significantly as a result. And so I do encourage members to still buy. A lot of our volume that goes through these chateaux is because of En Primeur, and so do trust in the selection that we've made. We've tasted all of these wines on numerous occasions, and we've only offered those which we genuinely think are worth it. And I think there's some fantastic wines to be had for the early to mid-term drinking, so do get behind them, and I hope you enjoy the offer.